Come to order. Please stand for the pledges of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the City of Romulus City Council regular meeting for Monday, October 23rd, 2017. Good evening, council, mayor, city treasurer, and audience. Tonight's council meeting agenda is as follows. We're going to start off with roll call at this time. Councilwoman Abdo,
Here.
Councilman Barton,
Here.
Councilwoman Choate,
Here.
Councilman Kraut.
Here.
Councilwoman Makowski.
Here.
Councilwoman Roscoe.
Here.
And Councilman Wadsworth.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Number 1, approval of the minutes. Number 2, approval of the minutes. Number 3 is petitioner. Number 4 is chairperson's report. Number 5 is mayor's report. 6A is the clerk's report. 6B is the treasurer's report. 7 is public comment. 8, unfinished business. 9, new business. 10, communication. Number 11 for approval is warrant 17-20. And number 12 is adjournment. And a motion be in order to accept the regular council meeting agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Kraut, supported by Mr. Wadsworth, for approval of the agenda as presented. Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Roscoe?
Yes.
Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Choate?
Yes.
Mr. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Agenda approved.
Item 2A, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting held on October 9th, 2017.
So move for approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting held October 9th, 2017.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Abdo, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting which was held October 9th, 2017. Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Abstain.
Mr. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Mr. Choate?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
There were no special meetings held on October the 9th. Number 3 is petitioner. We do have a petitioner this evening. This is an introduction of TA-2017-002, zoning ordinance text amendments, Article 18, special land use, review requirements and procedures. And we have Carol Mays, our city planner.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Another zoning ordinance amendment. Hopefully, this is the last one for a while. This one's a pretty important one, special land use procedures. And the Planning Commission reviewed this last week, had a public hearing. And this is a process that we've been looking at for several years to streamline the development review process. And as you know, we are currently participating in the MEDC's Redevelopment Ready program. And our zoning ordinance and our review processes are currently under review. And I know we're going to get nailed on this, so I'm trying to correct it right now. Right now, our special land use process is a two-step process. It goes to Planning Commission for public hearing. They review the special land use application along with the site plan, and then they make a recommendation to you guys, as you're familiar with. This ordinance changes that process a little bit, and for some very low-level, low-intensity special land uses, we'd like to keep the approval authority with the Planning Commission. The more intense uses, though, we still feel, we don't know what the MEDC is going to say, but we still think that the big intense ones need to come to you guys. The long-term parking, the waste disposal uses, large places of assembly, adult entertainment uses. Those would still go through the current process, which is Planning Commission public hearing and their recommendation to you. So that's it in a very short nutshell. You've got a lot of paper in front of you in your packets, and that's just because to make this change, it affected all the districts. So we have to publish that and get that information to you as well. So that's why it's so thick.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Carol, could you give us an example of some of the things that the Planning Commission would approve?
You know, right now, the ones that are popular are gas stations, fast food, drive-through restaurants. They would be things like that. let's see, large, in an M1 district, for example, some of them it's based on districts. It would be a large manufacturing facility, the large scale ones, the over 80,000, I think, square feet we constitute as bigger. Those will go to planning commission, and we have a public hearing more to notice the people that live around there so we could get any resident input or neighboring input. But the decision would stay with the planning commission.
So
as
a
opposed-
person could open up a new gas station and it wouldn't come to us at all?
Right.
We'd have no say in it.
Right.
I'm kind of uncomfortable with that a little bit.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes, I read through this quite thoroughly, and it seems that for the sake of expediency and streamlining, and this is why you want to change this.
Exactly.
I don't feel comfortable with that. I think that we are, as a body, are elected by the people to represent them. The Planning Commission, although they do a wonderful job, they don't have to answer to the elected people like we do. And I don't know how much streamlining is really necessary when we meet 3 times a month anyway. So this could go to Planning Commission and easily go to us the next week. I prefer to leave this with the City Council.
We have looked at it, and it has, typically, we went and reviewed over the last 5 to 6 years. We reviewed the time period that it adds on, and it's been adding on about 3 weeks. What ends up having to happen is oftentimes it comes out of Planning Commission with conditions, so we'd like to get some of those conditions taken care of because a site plan's going with it. And then the big thing is getting the minutes done, is getting staff to get minutes done, get those, and then into the packet so that you guys are fully prepared when you do see some of these uses. The other thing that we looked at is all of the special land uses that have come in the last, a 7 to 8 year period, you guys haven't made any changes to any of them. So they've gone through plan, and really all they've done is add on 3 to 4 weeks of the developer's time. So, but it's a policy decision. Again, we know we're gonna get marked down for, I just talked to somebody at the MEDC last week that's working on this and said, yeah, your ordinance is good, but that's the one area that they really cited us for because it's not a streamlined process. It does take longer.
Ms. Makowski?
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about or better understand, because I do like that you guys are looking to streamline. I think that's a positive. I've heard complaints in the past that it's a little difficult to do business in Romulus, and we don't want that perception. But I wanted to know more about the certification. So this certification requires that we do this sort of streamlining. But does it require that the city council not be the final approver?
It
or?
gives the municipality the choice, and most municipalities these days, in the effort to go quicker and be more business friendly, is to maintain the integrity of the process, which is the public hearing. That's the key thing. It's the planning commission that holds the public hearing, and that's where resident input comes, and that's what's important. And so if there's things that come out, and the big thing that has come out with the public hearing has primarily been screening. So there has been some times that we've been made aware of some things that could have some impacts. A commercial kennel is a great example. Comes into a neighborhood and not really realizing what's going on. And so we can say, boy, maybe we need to push that back a little bit, or maybe we need to add some more screening. So it's at the public hearing level that we hear the stuff that we don't pick up as part of a standard review.
So just one more. So I've got to tell you, and I've been here for 4 years on this council, and I can't think of a time. There's never been a time where I had a complaint that you needed to fix, because the planning commission does such a thorough job, as well as you and your team. So I'll think about this, definitely consider.
Keep in mind too, if you look at my memo, look on pages 2 and 3, and those sort of separate the differences in uses that we're talking about. And you still will see the big ones, the adult entertainment uses and the casinos, the racetracks, large, anything big, you still certainly would see those. The ones that we're talking about, a daycare center. Do you want to have input on a daycare center? Again, a commercial kennel, a drive-through fast food use, a golf course.
And these are just continuing along that line. So these would all be, they're part of the master plan, so there's no real surprise.
Right. These are allowed uses, they're just special. And again, the reason they're special is because we want the public, we want the surrounding property owners to know what's going on, and we want to get their input on something that is a little bit, a kennel's a perfect example. They're allowed in single-family residential neighborhoods, but they can have quite an impact. And depending if they're not properly located, we need to do something about that. And we do, as part of the special land use process, we have the ability to put conditions on, and that's what the planning commission is so good at doing. They come up with all sorts of stuff that really make a use that could have a negative impact, workable. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been very impressed with the planning commission, so.
Ms. Roscoe.
First of all, I'd like to say that the planning commission does a great job. And they ask a lot of questions. And there's many times where the applicants have to come back to the planning commission, and it doesn't just scoot on through the first time or even the second time. So usually by the time all that is buttoned up and put in place, all the issues have really been taken care of. And it's like Ms. Mikowski said, I don't know of any times when it's finally gotten this far, and I sit in the planning commission meetings, and I mean, sometimes we're there longer than these council meetings last. And I mean, they're very, very, very thorough. And, and if when reading through this ordinance, it's still the big issues, it's still the hazardous waste, it's still all the big issues that have to come past here. And again, like I said, the time it gets here, we've got a very good group of people that sit on that planning commission. They're very knowledgeable, and they go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes, Ms. Abdo.
No one is disparaging the planning commission at all, but bottom line is the city council are directly responsible to the people. That's what I'm elected to do. And also, I think what we have here is a system of checks and balances also. By coming to the city council for final approval, it allots that checks and balances. So I can't support this at all.
John?
Yes, Mr. Wadsworth.
I have the same feelings as far as the planning commission. Their integrity is above reproach, but I still feel as elected officials that there's too many things on here that we should have the final say.
okay. Are there,
That's what they vote us for up here.
are there any that
I mean, if somebody gets something built next to them and they want to complain, they call us. They don't call members of the planning commission. And I'm uncomfortable with this.
Are there any of these uses, for example, the uses that would then now go to the planning commission? There are senior assisted living centers, daycare centers, commercial kennels, boarding stables, drive-through uses, indoor commercial recreation, golf courses, and utility buildings. So that's it. Those are the ones. So would you be more comfortable with taking some of those and moving them into?
One more point. I mean, I look at the charter, which dictates what the planning commission and they're a recommending board is what they are. I mean, and I mean, for the 34 years I've sit here, I can't think of one or two times that I didn't vote in favor of them. I mean, I think it's a good system. I think it works.
Mr. Crowd.
Yeah, I believe it's up to the council. It's their decision.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the
Motion?
motion.
Okay. I need a motion.
I gotta figure out what the motion should be, though.
Go ahead. Right.
Okay, so we don't have to act
We
right
don't have
now.
to act on this tonight.
Okay.
So maybe go back to the drawing board.
Sounds good.
You can make a motion to introduce and then vote no.
It just dies for lack of
Motion just dies.
talking about vehicle.
So we're going to, as far as the attorney, we are going to disregard until we come back to a vote, or what? How do we proceed on this?
Since you don't accept it, I don't think you have to approve the first reading of it.
Okay,
So it'll just die
okay.
from the fact that you haven't,
No action.
doesn't get a second reading unless you approve the first reading. So
Okay.
There are several of the other sections, the district sections, that, like I said, we made some tweaks to. So when we do bring this back, I can certainly go back to the way things are with the special land use section and just tweak the district sections and clean that up, which is just like what we've been doing, that cleanup, so.
Okay,
Thank you for your work.
Good.
all right, thank you.
No action.
Number 4 is the chairperson's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Clerk. Today, tonight, we had 2 meetings. One was a open study session, and that was the Detroit Regional Metropolis proposal to revise their interlocal agreement between members of the communities. At 7 o'clock, we had a closed session, and that was for our attorney opinion. At this time, I want to bring up Animal Control Group. I think they have a presentation they'd like to discuss.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. As not always as council members and as the mayor, do you get the good news? Quite often you get the bad news, but I'm here to give you the good news. My name is Debbie Schutt, and I'm the president of the Michigan Pet Fund Alliance. And I have with me Iris Parangeli. I always have a hard time with Iris's name. Iris is on my board of directors. We are a statewide not-for-profit organization. We were established in 2003. And what our mission is to end the killing of healthy and treatable homeless cats and dogs in Michigan shelters. So we are a small group. I'll tell you, we are a powerful group. What we do is we collaborate with shelters and rescue organizations to achieve our goal. And we do it through training, technical assistance, education, and advocacy. And one of the things that's very important to us is to recognize those that have made really great improvements. Now, every year, you may not know that your staff does this, but every year they submit to the Department of Agricultural and Rural Development in the state of Michigan a report. That report talks about the cats and dogs that come in the shelter, the other animals that come in, and what the disposition of those animals are. And back in 2007, the state of Michigan was bringing in about 250,000 homeless animals into shelters throughout the state, somewhere around 180 shelters in Michigan. And at that time, 120,000 of those animals, of that 250,000 that were going into shelters, were being euthanized, or what we refer to as killed. And the reason we call it killed is because many of them are healthy and treatable. They don't need to be euthanized. They need to find new homes. And as the years have progressed, like I said, we started out with looking at the numbers, and that was 250,000. Well, this last year, we actually, I have to turn the page here to tell you the stats. We went from 250,000 going into shelters to 137,000. So that is a substantial reduction in animals going into shelters in a decade. But most importantly, where we had 120,000 that were being euthanized, we are all the way down to 20,000 in 10 years. It doesn't happen by magic. And what's really surprising is that often people think it takes a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of money. What it does take is doing things differently and collaborating, working with others. And most importantly, what you want to do is have less coming in the shelter and more going out the shelter. And you can do that by working with your community. So what I'm here this evening about is that all of those reports that are sent by 180 shelters to the state, well, our organization takes all 80 of them, and what we do is we apply a formula and find out who's done the best this year? And in your case, Romulus has done the best for a medium shelter in improvement, a 10% life-saving improvement with a 60% save rate. It didn't just happen, it's well-deserved. You have folks here working every day that make that happen, and I have no doubt that if this year is as good as last year, and within another year or two, there's no reason why Romulus can't be a no-kill community either. Not only are no-kill communities instituting best practices, which all government agencies want to do, is do the best you can do, but as your planner just sat down, it is also a huge economic development tool. Because I'll tell you, young millennials do not want to move to a place where they have fear, where one of their furry members of the family, which over 50% of the people out there consider their animal a member of the family, may not make it alive if they get lost. And that's why it's so important not just to be humane, not just to undertake best practices, but also as an economic development tool for your city. So we want to give you an award for that in this plaque. Which recognizes you have an open admission shelter, your medium shelter, and you're the most improved for 2016. Also, what we would like to give you is a $2,000 gift so that you can continue doing the great work that you're doing. So, Mayor, Council Chair, council members, you can be very, very proud of your staff because they're doing great things. Could I indulge one more minute to get a couple of photographs?
Sure.
Can we bring,
Come on, Annie, get up.
let's do it so that,
You do. Leave her, you should get up there. Okay.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to recognize Mr. Mark Edwards. He's coordinator of the school relations, Romulus Community Schools. He wants to present some information to the voters.
That's going to be a tough act to follow. I did not come bearing gifts, so I apologize, Mr. Mayor. So, thank you for having me tonight. Thank you, council, treasurer, clerk, deputy clerk, those of you that are in attendance, and also those who are, watching at home and online. So, definitely just want to take an opportunity to come out and talk a little bit about the upcoming millage election that will be on the November 7th ballot. I do have a little bit of a presentation tonight, so I'm going to kind of focus my attention over here to the left. So if you don't mind, I'll just step to the side of the podium here. We do have an election on November 7th. It's for 2 millages. Unfortunately, in August, we were defeated, and we're hoping for a little better turnout here in November. And so Romulus Community Schools, which recently just celebrated 100 years. It's 100 years old in 2016. It was founded in 1916. So very long time, long history. And we want to preserve that history. And so what we're asking is for the voters to vote on 2 proposals on the November ballot. The first one being a hold harmless, which is also our operating fund. And that is already off the books. It expired in 2016. And we also have a sinking fund, which expires in 2018. So if both of these millages fail to pass, that means we have no local dollars coming into our schools. So we'd be in financial difficulties, and we do not want to go down that road. We recently in 2014 came out of being a deficit district, so we're kind of on the way up, and we want to continue to go up. So the hold harmless, just briefly, is a maximum levy of 2.5 mils. But I want to point out that we do not collect and we do not levy the complete 2.5 because we are an at-risk district. And so what that means is we have a high demographic of low socioeconomic families, and so the state formula pays for some of those at-risk and those operating dollars. So we most recently levied 1.3 mils, and so the state will fill in that other 1.2. And this is basically $2.50 at the max per $1,000 of your home's taxable value. And that's for 10 years, and again, we want to solidify our finances for the long term. In terms of the hold harmless, what that can be utilized for: teacher salaries, retirements, benefits, educational materials, so curriculum materials, technology, desks, you name it, supplies that go into the classroom and help the teachers teach on a daily basis. And we have great teachers who are working very hard on a daily basis. I want to point that out. It can also be used for technology upgrades. If we're going to stay with a 21st learning environment, we need to definitely invest in our technology, our laptops, our computers, our software, and things like that. The major point I want to point out here is that this will free up general fund dollars. So if we can get this hold harmless passed, then it will also free up general fund dollars, which will prevent us from having to spend those dollars in those areas. Sinking fund is a maximum levy of 3 mils, which this is an increase. Sinking fund is a $3 per thousand of taxable value, also 10 years. The reason why we want to go with these long-term millages is because we don't want to have to come to our taxpayers and our citizens regularly. We don't want to come every 2, 3, 4 years. We want to try to solidify this for 10 years and try to build our district into what it used to be. I mean, it used to be a really profound and great district, and it can be that again. The current levy is 0.75 mils, which is inadequate for us to plan long-term, and it basically has created us into having to put Band-Aids on things. And so we can't plan properly with it at 0.75 mils, and that's why we're asking for that increase. Sinking fund dollars can be used for building and facility maintenance. If anybody goes into any of our public school buildings, and anybody's welcome at any time, you can see that there's some issues in our buildings and that they need a little bit of love. And so that's where those dollars would go. Our parking lots are crumbling. The lines are not painted. The signs are not you cannot even read the signs anymore. So it could also help with our parking lots. Demolition. We are well aware that we have 2 buildings in our district that are blighted buildings. One being the Mount Pleasant building, and the second building being the Burton Center building. Those properties are both up for sale currently, and we're hoping to sell them, and that way the buyer can actually then deal with the demo and that cost. It's a very high cost, and we're trying to prevent from utilizing funds on those demolition projects. And again, the sinking fund will allow us to free up general fund dollars because we've been using our general fund dollars to do emergency maintenance and emergency fixes, which has caused us some financial difficulties. So here are some facts. Since 2008, the state has cut our per pupil funding by more than $500. That equates into $1 million annually, and we just can't operate with those cuts. Enrollment is declining annually, and this is a Romulus problem, but this is also a Michigan problem. It's in our region, so enrollment has been declining in public education over the past decade or so, especially after the recession in 2009. And so without a strong, healthy enrollment, again, it's hard to fix our problems. Average building age of our buildings in Romulus are 50 years old. We have 6 buildings that are operating right now, not including Corey, which provides early childhood. So there are 6 buildings, our 4 elementaries on the corners of the city, and then our middle school and our high school. And again, 50-year-old buildings, if your home is 50 years old, things are going to go wrong that you have to fix. And so that's where we're at with that. It's important to know that our staff took a 14% pay cut in 2013. This is extremely important because we've lost some very good talent over the past 10 years. Teachers can just not afford to take the salaries that we're offering them and to stay and have that loyalty. And so we've lost some very, very important staff, and we want to we want to free up some dollars so we can improve our salaries and to not only retain the staff that we have, but to also attract new staff. So that's our goal. Strong schools, it's simple. It attracts home buyers, it attracts new residents, new citizens, and it also protects the home values of the current homes that are here now. We saw, 4 years ago, a community to our north fold and dissolve that district, and it had a huge impact on the homes there and on the safety of that district. And so we know too that strong schools are lower crime rates. If our students have things to do after school and programs to be involved in, they're less likely to be on the streets, and they're less likely to get involved with drugs, alcohol, and dangerous decisions. So it's very important that we secure our school funding. Without a local tax base, district redesign is a reality. And so what that basically means is we may have to close some schools, and we may have to realign some schools, and we may have to lay off current educators. And again, not a road that we want to take. We want to protect what we have, and we want to move it forward for many years to come. In 2009, a facility study by Barton Malow identified $17 million in needs, and that was in 2009. And none of those needs, very few of those needs, I'll say, have been met. The funds just aren't there, and so the new administration is trying to, again, solidify these funds so we can maintenance our buildings and keep them for, I want another 100 years to come at Romulus schools, so that's our goal there. So here are just some photos of some needed repairs. I just kind of threw a few photos. I could show photos all night long, but I picked just a few. So this is a window that's leaking and has some issues there at our middle school. You can see the flooring here. That's a stairwell at our middle school. We had to tape it and just try to keep it as safe as we could. So that's definitely something that we need to fix and we want to fix. The carpeting in our middle school is pretty much original. The building was built in 1974 in that area, and the carpet is still the original carpet. So again, I just ask you to think about your home. If your home had the same carpet for 30, 40 years, it's just very bad shape, wear and tear. Some of our roofing issues, we have leaks throughout our district and throughout some of our buildings, and so we want to obviously secure those and fix those from the top down. This is just a railing at one of our schools, at our middle school. So you can see the paint is chipped off and needs to be refinished. The carpeting they're peeling, the door is starting to peel. And so we just have, there's just so much to fix. Again, more roofing issues, leaks. This is at one of our elementary schools. It's in the gymnasium where they do their plays and kind of do their little presentations and productions. So we want to fix that. Some of our doors have some very major issues. The door frames themselves, the weather has just destroyed them over the years. And so, they don't lock properly. And so we need to, again, fix those. So one of our bathrooms, and this is probably one of the worst photos that I had to put in here. And it's almost embarrassing and a shame for our school district. And so, again, I just ask our taxpayers and our citizens and our supporters to support our schools so we can move forward and we can compete with our local districts around us. Education is a business now, and unfortunately, if we don't have the funds to fix these things, we're going to lose students to other districts, and we'll eventually see Romulus Community Schools dissolve, and that's not what we want. Again, a bathroom issue, sinks falling off, the water drinking fountain speaks for itself. This is an entranceway at one of our elementaries. You can see the concrete is kind of busted up and just not a very pleasing entrance there. Again, carpet peeling. It looks like it's been taped down in one of our classrooms. One of the heater vents just needs to be replaced. Carpet bubbling on the left there. You can see that our concrete around our area and the infrastructure, if you go to any of our schools and you just open up your eyes a little bit, I ask you, you'll see some issues that need to be fixed, and our kids deserve better, our students deserve better. It's one of the playgrounds, the swing set up here, I believe this is Hale Creek. There's no swings. One of the slides is missing here on the top right, a slide missing here. So again, our playgrounds need maintenance and need to be well equipped. exercise is important. So this is a new scoreboard that's actually set to go into our football field next year. And you can see the donators: Wayne County Community College, US Ecology, Romulus Rotary, the U.S. National Guard. And so with the help of Coach Dan Wood and Mr. Dennis Davidson, we've pushed this initiative to get these scoreboards in place. But our football field is set to close at the end of this season based on a concussion protocol test that it did not pass. It was deemed unsafe in certain areas. And I want to point out that our football team, our football program has turned itself around since 2010. I myself am a volunteer football coach as well. But we just made the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. We keep 50 to 60 young men off the streets on a daily basis. Their grades are impeccable. We have kids going to college. And so without a football field, our football program is going to die. And so with that said, we'll see more and more of our students leave our district. And again, I think that's not what any of us want here in Romulus. It'd be a very sad day. So this is what it will roughly cost a taxpayer. Average taxable value rate in Romulus is $37,000. Multiplied by that $5.50 max. And again, remember that $5.50 will be more likely to be $4.30 because the state is going to kind of satisfy some of that hold harmless fund. And so that equates to be $206 annually, $17 monthly, and 56 cents a day. So for 56 cents a day, you can help support our students, you can help support our schools, and you can help support our teachers. And so it's just a great need. Wrapping up here. Here's why we need to invest. And these are just 4 photos that I just kind of threw on here. It's all about these children, these young adults, elementary students that need safe learning environments. They need adequate supplies. They need teachers that are being compensated, I'll say, competitively with the neighboring districts. That way they stay in Romulus for years to come and can retire from our district. And so that's why we need to invest. It's all about these kids here. We have a couple town hall meetings coming up. We have already had 4 actually, 2 at the high school. But we have one tomorrow at 5:30 at Wick Elementary. We have one Wednesday on November 1st at 6 p.m. at Barth Elementary. And then we finish up November 2nd at Romulus Elementary at 6 p.m. And if you have questions, concerns, or you want to know the facts, I ask you to please come out to one of these town hall meetings and talk with us. We want our community to be part of our school district. In my opinion, the school district is the community's business because of the tax base. So we want parent volunteers. We want people to be at PTO meetings and PTA meetings. We want people, new, fresh people to run for school board. So we need people to get part of this process here in Romulus, and I challenge you to do so. If you have any further questions, comments, concerns, please contact the Board of Education anytime. We're more than welcome to speak with you and also set up visits if you'd like to tour any of our buildings. I also ask you to visit our website, www.romulus.net, for more information. There's a millage icon on our website. There's a presentation on there that gives you a little bit more information, and so I just ask you to go there if you need to know more. And then I also ask you to watch the October edition of the Mayor's Corner on the city YouTube channel. It has a great piece on there that kind of walks through some of the buildings and gives you some more video proof of some of the things that need to be fixed and need to be preserved in our district. And other than that, please get out to vote November 7th and help us turn our school district around. I appreciate the council, Mr. Mayor, all of you behind me, and those of you watching at home. Thank you, and go Eagles. Come out Friday for our home playoff game.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Like Mr. Edwards said, we have a great program, football team, major playoffs. We also league champions. So let's keep supporting our youngsters because they do a great job. They get good grades, and those are our future leaders. So let's support them. Now I'd like to recognize, on a sad note, that recognize Councilwoman Roscoe.
Yes, thank you. I have 2 different memorial resolutions I'd like to ask for tonight. First one is for Jeanette Woods passed away on October 17th, and our condolences go out to all her family and friends.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Mr. Wadsworth for a memorial resolution. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Mr. Kraut.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
And the second one I have is for Josie Hardwick, and again, our condolences go out to her family and her friends.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Makowski for another memorial resolution. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Mr. Kraut,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Choate.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roscoe. With that, that concludes the chairperson's report.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept your report.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Choate, to accept the chairperson's report. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Mr. Kraut,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved, and thank you.
Number 5 is the mayor's report.
Good evening, City Council, Treasurer, Clerk, Deputy Clerk, and audience. Picked a quote tonight, Mr. Chairman, that kind of ties to a little bit of a theme. It talks about hero. A hero is someone who is giving his or her life to something bigger than oneself. And I picked that quote because what I'd like to do is have Captain Monty from PD and our Deputy Fire Chief Kevin Kraus come up. We all heard about the Barrington fire, the awful fire, and oftentimes from tragedy arises heroism and some good. And so what I'd like to do is have them kind of outline what brought us to this point and what we'd like to do with some recognition tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for recognizing me under your report. Madam Clerk, Madam Treasurer, and Council, we're honored to be here tonight to discuss the events that occurred on September 19th, Sunday, in regards to a Barrington fire over at the apartment complex here in Romulus. It's truly my belief that there are a few instances in everybody's life in which they have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody else's life. And two things have to occur when one of those instances present themselves. First, that individual needs to recognize that that's presenting itself in front of them. And second, they have to make a decision to act on that particular instance. And on Sunday, September 17th, these two young men that I'm going to bring up in front of you did just that. We had a fire at one of the apartment complexes in which the entire roof section of the complex building was fully engulfed in flames by the time our fire department even arrived. And these two young gentlemen were nearby at a park and recognized that the fire was occurring and decided to reach out and help the people inside of that building. They went door to door knocking on that building, and when our police department arrived, they were still knocking on the doors as the police officers relieved them and sent them outside so they could finish the job. These two young men didn't think twice about it. They went in, started knocking on the doors. And for all intents and purposes, while there was a lot of property lost, there was a lot of damage to the property itself and personal belongings lost, there was no life lost, up to and including any animals in the building. And that's what the fire service... The fire service, that's what we call a successful fire, is the fact that nobody was injured, nobody was hurt, up to including even our firefighters here in the city when they were battling that. We reached out to several other communities, as all of you know, to help us fight that fire, and it was a challenging night for everybody, but these two individuals made sure that everyone started off safe at the beginning couple minutes of this fire. So on behalf of the mayor, I would like to read two proclamations to both of these individuals. And it says, I, Leroy D. Burcroft, Mayor in and for the City of Romulus, wish to express my sincere gratitude to Freddie King for his selfless act of valor and dedication to the residents of the Barrington Apartments and to the City of Romulus. I commend you for your heroism and the example you have set for our community. Congratulations. go ahead and stay up here for a second because we're going to call your friend up here too, okay? Again, this says, I, Leroy D. Burcroft, Mayor for and City of Romulus, wish to express my sincere gratitude to Ryan Stockton Jr. for his selfless act of valor and dedication to the residents of the Barrington Apartments and to the City of Romulus. I commend you for your heroism and the example you have set for our community. Congratulations. You gentlemen could stay up here just for a second. We got a couple other things for you this evening. On behalf of the fire department and the public safety department, we have a small bag here for both of you. We've also, through telling this story to the community and reaching out to multiple partners, we've secured a couple different things. And one of those is through the Detroit Pistons. We've secured tickets to the Pistons versus Cavaliers game coming up very shortly. And then also through the restoration company that assisted the fire department that evening, Balfour Restoration has donated 2 tickets to each of you to one of the Pistons games on December 17th as well. And those are sweet tickets. Captain Monty has one more thing to address here.
Yeah, unfortunately, members of the Pistons organization, they did see you guys on TV, and it really struck a chord with them as to how brave you guys are. Unfortunately, they weren't able to be here tonight because they have a game. So, but on behalf of the Romulus Police Department, we actually have a couple more gifts for you guys. Through the back door. This is Officer Hathorn, our school resource officer. One more thing, when you guys get a couple years older, come see us at the Romulus Police Department. We're always looking for good young men, so keep that in mind.
I'd like to also just point out real quick, we talk about community and we talk about family support. If you look, these first 3 rows are these 2 young gentlemen's family that came out to support them tonight. And I think that's great that these 2 young have that support. In addition, extended community, the principal of their school and their teacher also are here this evening, as well as a lot of our public safety individuals from our departments here to support them.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Just remind me about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to do that. That's the good stuff. 2 great young men. Thank you to our public safety, police and fire for coming out and all that you do. Our animal control, thank you for all your good work. We appreciate it. And that's kind of the Romulus story, isn't it, Mark Edwards? I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. Those are our future leaders, and that's why we need to support. You know, I have a lengthy action item report, but I got just a couple more things if I could, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
And this, again, is good news, something we're proud of. That is the Romulus story. And I'll tell it briefly. We get rated, our bond rating, each and every year by a couple different organizations, and one is S&P or Standard & Poor's. And what that means is that they rate your bond rating, so it bases your interest that you pay when you have to float bonds, obviously. And so we have a lot going on, as council knows, and later there's some action items, but we have road work for Amazon, we have a court building project, so we had some significant debt we're bringing on, even though we have a plan for revenue. So we took a road trip, and myself and Tim Keys and Suzanne Marino and Mike Gormley who's here, and we met Pat McGow in Chicago to kind of have a face-to-face on October 5th. And what I wanted to do was just tell them our Romulus story, share all the data. We always have to send them the reports and the spreadsheets, but had to present to these two individuals that ultimately take our case before the board. It has to be a unanimous decision. So we're very proud of the A+ credit rating that we had. We've worked hard over the last few years to get that to where it was. I didn't want to lose that rating. Wanted to make sure that they heard our story. So we took a trip. We got up early. We flew there, went to downtown Chicago, met with them, presented the numbers, went through all the questions, told them the Romulus story. And then we just got an answer back on October 17th. And I'll read some snippets from that. And basically the results that came from Standard & Poor's, it said actually the city of Romulus is now receiving, we thought we were fighting to keep the A+, we got upgraded to an AA- bond rating, and they gave us some other outlook remains still stable for us. But I was very proud of this. The third point, I put this in councils in your mail so you can see it for yourself. The assessment of the management has been revised from adequate to strong. And that was one of the things they called out when they heard our story and what we're doing and all the things that council is working on. So there's more details in the detailed report, but I just wanted to share that with you. What does that mean? That means we can save thousands of dollars on interest because we're doing the right things. Do we have more work? Do we have things like other communities like long-term legacy costs? Yes. So we have our challenges, but I think I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of our team. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into this to make this possible. So I just wanted to report that to you. I don't know if I missed anything, Tim or Mike or Pat, that were here, but good team effort all the way around, and was definitely worth a one-day trip to Chicago. So thank you. Roger, I think we have a short video clip.
Hello, here's what's coming up around Romulus. Toddler story time at the library is every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Their family story time is back every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Scarecrows are now on display in downtown Romulus. Please take a look at our Facebook page to vote for your favorites all month. Romulus Community Schools will be hosting town hall meetings for anyone with questions regarding their upcoming items on the ballot in November. Dates and times are listed on your screen or can be found at romulus.net. Last week was the registration deadline for Pee Wee basketball and daddy-daughter dance programs, but late registration is available on a limited basis if you call as soon as possible. Please note that the price of the daddy-daughter dance is increased to $30 per couple after the deadline. The library is hosting a Halloween party this Thursday at 6 p.m. The Senior Center Halloween Luncheon is this Friday at 11 a.m. And on Saturday, October the 28th, the Romulus Police Department is participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Their lobby is open 24 hours for safe disposal of any expired, unused, or unwanted prescription drugs. Rack or Treat is Sunday, October the 29th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stay tuned for more details on this and any of our other events by visiting our website, romulusgov.com, or like the City of Romulus page on Facebook. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks, Roger. Now, I've got a lot of action items, so Mr. Chairman, I'll get into those. First item up is item A. This is a request that came through Tim Keys, Economic Development Director, and it's to concur with the administration, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the attached amended Aerotropolis interlocal agreement.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, and this is for the intertropical interlocal agreement. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next item is B, and that's a request that came through Lynn Conway, Purchasing Director, and Roger Cadu, the Co-Cable Director. And this is to concur with administration, award bid ITB 17/18-07 to the lowest bidder, Jack Demmer Ford, for acquisition of a Ford Transit van for the city of Romulus Cable. The amount is $23,708.58, and those funds have been verified and budgeted and available out of the cable TV capital outlay account.
So moved.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Makowski, supported by Mr. Abdo for the ITB 17/18-07 Ford Transit van for the cable department. Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. The next item is a request that came through Lynn Conway, Purchasing Director, and Kathy Ritter, Assistant DPW Director. And this is to concur with the administration and authorize the language of the attached bid documents for bid ITB 17/18-08, and that's allowing for all emergency and non-emergency electrical work to be completed in the amount not to exceed $30,000.
Chair, I'll make that motion to approve of bid language ITB 17-18-08 electrical contractor services.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Mr. Wadsworth, approval of the bid language ITB 17/1808 electrical contractor services. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. The next item also is a recommendation from Lynn Conway, Purchasing Director, and Kathy Ritter, Assistant DPW, and that's to concur with the administration, award ITB 17/18-09 for motor oil, solvents, lubricants, antifreeze for the city of Romulus DPW to Chap and Bushy Oil Company. The price is guaranteed in their bid for 12 months from the date of the signed agreement. These funds have been verified and budgeted for out of the motor vehicle equipment, gas, and oil account.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve 17/18-9, the motor oil, solvent, lubrication, antifreeze for the DPW.
Support.
Been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Mr. Kraut, for the ITB 17/18-09 motor oil, solvents, lubricants, and antifreeze. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next item is a recommendation that came through Lynn Conway, Purchasing Director, Maria Lambert, DDA Director, Tanya Cofield, Recreation Coordinator, and this is to concur with the administration and authorize the purchase of playground equipment for the Romulus Historical Park through CDBG recreation facility funding under the quote submitted by Game Time / Sinclair Recreation. The amount is $17,087.15, and those funds have been verified and available out of the CDBG park facilities allocation.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for this is for the playground equipment for the historical park.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Yes. I'm taking, can I speak with Maria?
Maria, can you come up, please?
Hey, John.
Hello?
Hi. I'm looking at the pictures of this, and this isn't what I envisioned at the historical park. I'm wondering where you're going with this. First of all, it seems like a lot of money for not much. And then, are these made of wood, or, I mean,
They're made of cement.
okay,
So
that was
they're-
my next
yeah.
question. Made to look like wood.
Right, they're made to look like wood.
Okay, What else can you tell me? We have 2
We
balance.
wanted to keep something pretty rustic looking. We didn't want a really modern set of things for the historical park. That was our reasoning behind that.
Okay, that's what I wondered. So none of this is actually made of wood, so
No.
it will endure. That was what my
We
question.
really didn't want anything too obtrusive for the
Okay.
area.
Thanks, Maria.
Yeah. I have one question. I know Neckanay Park, you need some equipment in Neckanay Park. You take care of that or not?
Yes, McAnally Park, we did there's some short-term and long-term work we're trying to do. There's some safety issues with that one as
good.
well. I was out there with Cat Ritter within the last month. That's not going to be CDBG money, but there'll be some funding we'll have to try to do to bring that up.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Good. Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Crowd?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
Thank you, Council. Next item F is a recommendation through Bob McCrate, Director of Public Services. This is to concur with administration and approve the attached amendment to the previously approved contract with George Auk Company and the City of Romulus for the management services and construction of the new 34th District Court building.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for the amendment to the contract for the 34th District Court.
Sorry, support.
A motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Mr. Kraut, for amendment to the contractors for the 34th District Court. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
Thank you, Council. The next item is a recommendation that came through Tim Keys, Economic Development, and Stephen Hitchcock, Legal Counsel, and this is to concur with the administration and approve the attached amendment for the additional services proposal for Wade Trim for professional design and permitting services associated with the Vining Road project. The amount's not to exceed $39,400, and those project costs will be available under a later item in my report.
So moved.
Support.
Been motion by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Roscoe for amendment for the additional professional design and permitting services for the Vining Road project. Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
Thank you, Council. The next item is also a request from Tim Keys, Economic Development, and this is a request to concur with the administration, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the attached agreement between Omo Farms, Clinton River Watershed Mitigation Bank, and the City of Romulus for the purchase of .77 acres of wetland credit, and that was for the amount listed and contingent upon the sale of the bonds. Attached document came from Mr. Keys.
Chair, I'll make that motion for the purchase of wetlands credit for the Vining Ecorse Road project.
Support.
Been motion by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Choate, for purchase of the Westland Credit Binding Ecorse Road project. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
Thank you, Council. The next item is just a request to concur with administration and approve a no-fee permit that are issued to the city for any permits for renovation of the DDA building at 35255 Goddard. That's the old firehouse.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for a no-fee permit for 35255 Goddard.
Support.
Been motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Makowski, for the no-fee permits at the address of 35255 Goddard. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank you, Council. Next item is a request that came through Kevin Kraus, our Deputy Fire Chief, and this is to concur with the administration, approve a one-year extension, which the contract was listed previously approved under 16-162, which allowed for a one-year extension of existing service contract for Advanced Life Support, or ALS, as it's called, for ambulance transportation with Beaumont Mobile Health.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for this Beaumont Mobile Health, and this is for the one-year contract extension. Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Mr. Crowd.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next item is also a request from Kevin Kraus, Deputy Fire Chief and Legal Counsel, and this is to concur with the administration and grant authorization for the mayor and clerk to enter into an attached commercial lease agreement for Fire Station 3, that's at 6900 Wayne Road, with Beaumont Mobile Health, that we just approved earlier, to commence on November 1st, 2017 through November 30th of 2018. And that's what we talked about in the budget process.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for Fire Station number 3 for the lease agreement.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Makowski, and this is for the Fire Station number 3 lease agreement. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Mr. Crowd,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. The next item is a request to concur with administration and approve the reappointment of Wanda Sanchez to the City of Romulus Officer Compensation Commission with a term to expire June 24th of 2024.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Joe?
I'd like to make the motion that we concur with the administration, approve the reappointment of Wanda Sanchez to the City of Romulus Officers Compensation Commission with term to expire June 24, 2024.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Choate, supported by Mr. Crowd. This is to concur with the administration and approve the reappointment of Wanda Sanchez to the City of Romulus Office Compensation Commission with a term to expire on June 24th, 2024. Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr. Crowd,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Abdo,
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next item is a request that came through Suzanne Marino, our Financial Services Director, and this is to concur with the administration and authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the attached 4-year professional services agreement with Plant Moran for the auditing and consulting services through the completion of the 2021 fiscal year audit.
So moved for the professional service contract extension for Plant Moran.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Abdo for Plant Moran PLLC Professional Services Contract Extension. Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr. Crowd,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next item is a request to concur with the administration and to increase contractual services to cover an MDEQ cost, and that's Budget Amendment 17/18-11. It's $150.
So moved with discussion, please.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Choate. This is for the Budget Amendment 17/18-11, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Discussion. Ms.
Yes.
Makowski?
Thank you. Just a quick question about these two items, 5N and 5O. The budget amendment forms are the same with a strikeout on 5N.
Correct. The strikeout on this one that's before us on N is not pertaining to that Vining Road, correct?
Right.
Right, but it matches this one. The budget amendment form is the same on 5O, but not struck out.
That is correct.
Okay,
That one is for Vining Road. This one was not. This was actually for, wasn't it,
For
Pax
the
Spec?
PAC Spec Brownfield Authority.
right, but it threw me off because we're looking at, it's the same amount, and they're exactly the same, except this is struck out on 5N. That just threw me off.
Okay.
So same amounts,
We're moving $150 out of the increment fund or for the BRA, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and putting it into an account for the MDEQ to pay for their administrative fee.
But the 5.0 is not the same amount. You see the attached, there's a memorandum, should be reading it. I know that's their next item, but the one that's before us on N is for $150.
right, so both of them are? $150, but see, I'm just looking at this. This is exactly the same. This just kind of threw me off. I was trying to understand. Struck out here, but it state remains here.
It was struck out on O because it's not, for this one, because it's not part of the Vining Road. Yes, they did use the same form, but the memorandum has a different amount.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear with council.
150.
This one is for 150, that's before us.
Yes, all right, and the following one is for 150.
The following one has a different attached memorandum to it.
It's the same numbers.
It's the same number.
thing.
The
Same
budget amendment
numbers,
forms are
Same.
exactly the same.
Same numbers.
That's what I'm asking.
It's
And
the same
You know, I guess it's $150.
No, it's a different budget amendment number. One's 11, one's 12, one's 150, and the other that I see attached that, Tim, is for,
One form was used for both
Both,
budget
right.
transfers.
but
So
they're
there's-
different amounts,
in order
different
to
budgets.
In order to get approval for the budget transfers, we have to have two separate items. One for the 243 account and one for the 204 account.
Yeah, these are, all accounts are exactly the same on this and this sheet, and it's $150. They're both the same.
Yeah, there's
Mine's
no-
different, so I don't.
Everything's exactly the same, except,
They have different numbers, different amounts.
402-000,
No, it's,
980-001. Project number is the same.
Both of them are the same.
Yeah, they're exactly the same. This just has a strikeout to say not the Vining Road.
different.
Right, because there was one form used for both of them, but on the second item on O, you see, you should have a separate, you don't have a memorandum from October 9th that has.
Sorry, why would we use the same budget amendment form? It's exactly the same. Truly, the numbers, the project number. I'm just starting with this form first. And shouldn't that form?
Expenditure number is different.
Yeah, he used the same form and scratched this one out for the first one.
Okay, what else?
This one.
Second page.
So if you look at the memorandum,
If you
the
look at-
memo from the,
O, did you get this? Oh, you should have gotten this. It's an internal. Same form for both of them, and then two different amendment numbers and two different.
so if you look at the memo to the mayor,
Well, let's just take one at a time. So
right.
N's before us. So what you have is a request for a budget amendment for 17/18-11. That's $150, and that is for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority that actually pays the state. That's what that transfer was done, and that was for PEC spec. So that's what I'm asking for item N.
Good enough, I agree with that one.
Okay.
So, I think we have a motion.
Did you make it?
Been motion by Ms. Makowski, supported by
You
Ms.
made the
Choate.
motion.
I know it,
You made the motion,
yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but I'm waiting.
supported by Ms. Choate. And this is for budget amendment 17/18-11, $150 for Brownfield. Ms. Makowski,
Yes?
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Kraut,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
And the next item, which is O before you, that's request for a budget amendment to concur with administration and increase the project budget cost to cover the associated costs. That is for the Vining Road, E-course road improvements, and we'll make sure we don't combine those with the same internal form. That should have an attached memo that is dated October 9th, and you see the reflected account number and amount for that one.
So moved.
Support.
Been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for budget amendment 17/18-12, Vining Road Extension, E-course road construction. Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Mr. Kraut,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. And the last action item on this huge report is a recommendation that came from Bob McCrate, DPW, Public Services, and Pat McGow, City Bond Attorney. And it's a request to concur with the administration and adopt the attached resolution authorizing issuance of capital improvement bonds, Series 2017B. And those are limited tax general obligation for the acquisition, construction, furnishing, and equipping of the new court facility in the amount not to exceed $17 million. It
Chair,
has
I'll
the
make that
attached.
motion for the resolution authorizing assurance of capital improvement bonds for the court project.
Support.
Been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Mr. Kraut, for resolution authorizing issuance of capital improvement bonds for the court project. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion approved.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Right.
6A is the clerk's report. Before we address the items under my report, Mr. Chair, we do have two individuals from the audience that would like to speak on line item 6A6.
6A6.
Correct. And before you bring them up, can I just make a quick announcement and get that out of the way?
Okay.
Well, November 7th is the election, which has already been announced by Mr. Edwards. Just want to remind folks, it's still time. If you'd like to obtain an absentee ballot, as long as you meet the requirements. The clerk's office will be open on Saturday, November the 4th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that's for the purposes of issuing AV ballots. Note that that is the last day that we can actually mail a ballot to you. You can give us a call and request for the ballot, an application for an absentee ballot, and then on Monday, that's the last day that you can that we can issue an AV ballot, but it must be voted in person in the clerk's office. So if you have some questions, please give us a call. And again, to vote an absentee ballot, you must meet the qualifications to do so. And with that, I guess at this time we can call up the two individuals that have requested to speak on regarding line agenda item 6A6. And the first person I'd like to call up is Mr. Hawbaker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to just share my thoughts on this ordinance, or the proposed ordinance. My family and I have lived in Romulus, been residents of Romulus now for almost 33 years. We raised our family here, and two of our children still live in Romulus. Some of our grandchildren live here. But a few years ago, we were faced with a decision as to how to provide income for our family in the eventuality that I wouldn't be able to work full-time, and we settled on the idea of residential real estate. Beyond the idea of providing income, we liked the idea of being able to be a part of people's lives in relationship to that. We also, since we live in Romulus, would like to help continue to sustain Romulus as a viable place to live and a good place to live. And so we saw opportunity to have good quality properties that would be a credit to the community. And so in relationship to that, we've completely renovated two properties, one of which was a foreclosure with the kitchen stripped out and the house in pretty bad shape. And we also have some other units that we have purchased and rented out. And in all of these cases, we've complied with all of the city ordinances. We've complied with inspections, and we have secured certificates of occupancy because we want good houses with good tenants. And we see benefits far beyond that because we can contribute to the economy in Romulus. We hire contractors, we use services, we buy insurance, we pay taxes. We do all of those things which contribute to the economy. We address maintenance issues with our tenants. I have a large investment in these properties, and to allow them to deteriorate is not something that I intend to do. And so in relationship to this ordinance, I had the opportunity to read over it yesterday and today and think through it a little bit. And I'd just like to basically ask you to consider 3 areas. One, I'd like to ask you to please keep the costs as low as possible. I'm aware that there are other communities that have similar type ordinances. My wife and I looked through the requirements that those communities have. Some are more than you are talking about, some are much less, and then there are 2 or 3 or 4 in this vicinity that do not have any kind of that type of ordinance, which is the situation that we have now. But in the current form that you're talking about, and the fees that you're talking about, it adds a minimum of $12 to $15 a month per property that has to come from somewhere. And we can try to raise the rent to the extent that the market will allow. Beyond that, we will absorb the cost out of our cash flow. And so I just want to ask you to be considerate of the cost. Also, I'd like to ask you to be considerate of the complexity, or as some would say, the red tape. Why do signatures need to be notarized? I'm not sure about that. There are small things like that that add to the complexity. Secondly, I'd like to ask you to scrutinize the inspection checklist for things that actually raise the standard for rental houses above owner-occupied houses. And unfortunately, that seems to be oftentimes the result of ordinances like this. One example of that would be no living quarters in basements. I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean no sleeping quarters, which is already a regulation as far as I understand? But does it mean no finished basements and we can't have a TV room? I don't know. When there's a regulation in there that says that the compliance must be posted conspicuously, I don't want any compliance certificate conspicuously posted on the front of my house, and I don't think any of our tenants want the same. I want our tenants to feel like this is their house, their home, their castle, where they live, and where they raise their families. And so those are just 2 examples. There probably are others, but I think if we strike a happy medium between, one other illustration comes to mind is no leaking joints and gutters. It's not too easy to keep the joints and gutters from leaking, and so probably what will happen is some people will just do away with the gutters and take care of that problem. But there are things like that raise the standards above what we actually expect in our own homes. And then thirdly, I'd ask you to just consider finding a way that to go after those who are the target of this kind of ordinance without penalizing those of us who abide by these basic principles as a general business practice. I've been told that we are not the target of this, that this ordinance goes after those who are large violators of these kind of standards. but yet some of the expense of that falls on us to go after them. I've told that many landlords in Romulus do not have certificates of occupancy. Well, that would already be an illegality, and certainly the city could go after them and remedy that situation without a new ordinance. And so, just briefly, if we could consider the cost, if we could consider reasonable standards that are good enough but not better than owner-occupied houses, and then find a way to put the burden on those who are not complying and are thumbing their nose at the law, so to speak. That would be very encouraging and helpful to those of us that are really striving to run a quality business. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next request to speak regarding 6A6 is Mike Pribella.
Greeting, elected officials, assistants, and Steve. A thought of mine occurred when I was sitting back there when the school presentation was given, is that whatever happened to the money from the Michigan lottery? But I'm here to talk about the new amendment to the housing. I haven't seen it. I just heard about it today, and I'd like to find out a little bit more about it. Maybe you have to pass it before I can find out what's in it. But as a resident homeowner, when you walk around my neighborhood and you see homes with bad lawns, bad roofs, garages calming down, and these are homeowners. The people I know that in income housing business keep their homes up as well as I do. As a matter of fact, I had one tenant for 30 years in the same home. So that must mean something that I'm keeping the house up. I'd like to know how many dwelling units are for renters in the city of Romulus. Does anybody have an answer on that? Well, I guess what's the cost of the inspection? What are the requirements to pass inspection? How often? And in order to live in a house, you have the C of O. And I get those when the new tenants come in. I don't know what the ordinance says, so I can't comment it. I wish I had a copy of it so I could read it. Can't the tenants complain first before the inspection, instead of having this payment? Does anybody have any answers?
John? Later, can we have Mr. McCrate come up and explain it?
Yeah, we can have him come up later and do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I guess I would welcome anybody, and Mike, you know, if you're called to stay, we just walked you through it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we have all the answers to it. We can go through it, you know, with you
But
individually.
why are you passing it? Why do you want this? Why do you want it? What's the problem?
Do you want McCrate to address it now, or would you like him to just take his comments? It's up to council, whatever you prefer.
And it was Bob McCray who got that house fixed up. Thanks, Bob.
Bob, you want to come up then?
Bob, you want to come up?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. First of all, I'd like to applaud Mr. Hawbaker, Mr. Pribilla for the condition of their properties. They are not part of the issue we're having here. And we're trying to incentivize this ordinance to reward the people who keep their houses up. If it's a compliant home, it's a simple checklist they'll get. We'll do the inspection for them. If it meets compliance, that 2-year certificate turns into a 4-year compliance. So the registration fee and the certificate of compliance on a compliant property will only cost about $100 a year. But what the main vehicle this ordinance gives the building department is where we have you taking care of properties, Mr. Hawbaker taking care of properties. We have private organizations and investors that live out of the state own 19 to 20 homes. Our rental homes went from 800 homes a few years ago to over 1,500 now. We've been watching that number pretty closely, and our inspectors try to keep these sites compliant, and they don't have any teeth, so to speak, because they have no way to get a hold of an owner. This will force the owner of property to register, and we'll know who the responsible party is. If it's an independent or a private firm in Texas that owns 20 homes, which is common, we will have a local person that we can call to address property maintenance issues, and if need be, issue citations to compel compliance. So what we did with the fees was a registration fee of $150. That's good for 5 years. The inspection fee is $200, but that can be good for 2 years or 4 years depending on the site. It's a small checklist that shows basic items, and if those are all in compliant, the property owner will receive a 4-year certificate. So that, like I said, with the if you break it down, you spread it over 5 years, and then the 4 years for the certificate of compliance, it's only $100 a year. We've also found out that the homes that went from 800 to 1,500 rental homes, the average cost for a rental property in the cities, they're running from $1,000 to $1,500 a month. So a $10 to $12 a month fee. This program is not to generate revenue by any means, because it won't. What is another tool for our inspectors to be able to reach out to a non-compliant property owner and take care of an issue we're having in the city. So.
You're gonna have to have certification of the furnace and other appliances?
Yeah, certification of the furnace is required to do every 6 months. Basically, the reason the building department requires that is because a heat exchanger can crack any heating season. So in order to make sure that the residents are safe in the property, we'll want that looked at every time they have an inspection. Every 6 months. Well, if you've had one done within the last 6 months, we'd accept that one, but if you got your certificate of compliance, you had no other violations, you'd be good for 4 years.
It's gonna be applied to apartment houses as well?
Eventually, yes, we'd like to do that. Currently, we don't have the staff to accommodate something like that. We wanted to go after that, but when the layoff, the building department went from 10 staff members down to 6, so we don't have the manpower to go after that yet.
Well, I just think it hurts me. You're being a good landlord, and then you gotta pay money to be another good landlord. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right at all. I don't mind the inspection, the C of O before you move in. If a tenant moves out and you want a new tenant in, a C of O would be proper. But just to sit there and say, we gotta have an inspection every what you said, 4 years?
2 years if you have issues, 4 years if you pass the inspection.
I just think it's a little bit unfair for me. I'm stingy. I don't charge a lot for rent, nothing worth over $1,000, far from it. As a matter of fact, 1 year when it was bad housing, I lowered the rent to one person, so. Do I get a copy of it? Can I see it? What's going on?
Give you one.
Sure.
John?
Yes, Mr. Wadsworth?
What is the reason that they have to be re-inspected? Once they get in the house and they have a CO, as long as the same renter is in there, shouldn't they be left alone until they change renters?
So what happened, and that's the way the ordinance is written now. Whenever there's a new owner, a new tenant in a building or a residential or commercial structure, you needed to go through the process again and have it inspected again. Too many, and like I said, not Mr. Pribilla or Mr. Hallbaker.
I see these two gentlemen that came and talked tonight. We're
Yeah,
not
no.
concerned about their homes, but they're gonna pay a penalty because of other people.
Well, again, it's not really a penalty. It's $100 a year fee, and it provides, staff to keep an eye on these. And what happens though with the ordinance is we don't know when a lot of the property owners change tenants. We have no way of knowing. We have a city cert inspection. You bought the house, you turned it into an investment property, and you had, 5 or 6 tenants in there. We have no way of knowing. This ordinance will allow us to inspect it regardless of who they put in it. Like I said, if they're compliant or a good property owner, and they pass the inspection, and when they register, we'll give them the checklist. So they'll know what we're looking for. If they pass the inspection, they'll be good for 4 years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
Ms. Makowski and then
Yeah.
Mr. Abdo.
So you mentioned that we wouldn't know in the past. We wouldn't know, the change. How are we gonna know now? I mean, how will we know that multiple people are cycling through if they didn't follow the rules before to have a C of O?
What makes us think they're gonna do it now?
We might not know it now, but regardless of that, or how many tenants they move in there, we'll be able to inspect every 2 years to make sure these compliant sites.
But how do you know what these sites are? Do you know the sites
Yes.
already?
Yes, the building department's been tracking them, BSNA, when people are buying properties. They've been asking, is this to be a rental property or investment property? There's other ways that we can also check, so we're comfortable with the number being right around 1,500.
Okay.
Ms. Abdo?
Bob, one question is, you're saying that it has to be every 4 years. You know, let's say Mr. Parbilla passes in 4 years. Why don't we make it 5 years so it's consistent with the registration? I was wondering why you did the difference there.
Well, the difference was it was a 2-year inspection, and we looked at what a lot of different communities were doing.
Okay.
And most of them are doing the two years, and it seems to be working. But we wanted to, like I said, incentivize the program and to take care of the tenants that are taking care of the property, or the landlords who are taking care of the property. We decided to work out to be you get twice, you get 4 years instead of, we just doubled it.
To me, it makes sense to keep everything consistent. You have your registration every 5 years. Then if he is a good landlord, in 5 years, he'll be re-inspected. And I have another question. Where is it? If they currently have a certificate of occupancy, and like Mr. Pribilla's, they still have to go through this again. Let's say you.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll do the CFO when you purchase a property, but he already owns a property, so you do this inspection. And like I said, the checklist inspection we have for this is a lot less intrusive than the city cert inspection we do now.
That was my question.
Okay, thank you. I'll see Bob tomorrow if it's raining. If not, I'm going golfing.
Any further questions?
No. Thank you, Bob.
First line item under the clerk's report is 6A1 for first reading and introduction of distributed antenna systems ordinance. This request for council approval is coming from our DPW Director, Roberto Scapitici.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for introduction of distribution of antenna systems ordinance, DAS.
Support.
Been motion by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Makowski for introduction of distributed antenna systems ordinance, DAS. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Grout?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Abdo?
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Motion approved.
6A2 for first reading and introduction of amendment to City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 36, Article 5, offenses against public peace, to add requirements of property owners to prohibit disorderly persons from use or possession of property. This request for approval is coming from Police Captain Joshua Monte.
So moved to introduce the amendment to the City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 36, as described.
Support.
The motion by Ms. Makowski, supported by Mr. Wadsworth for introduction of the amendment to the City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 36.
Discussion.
And with discussion,
Chief Monty, can you come up and explain this ordinance so the people out there have an idea of what we're talking about, please?
Sure. The ordinance that we bring before you today, it's a requirement for property owners to ensure that their tenants are essentially behaving themselves appropriately. We have a few amount of properties in this city that require a lot of police resources, a lot of fire resources, and frankly, they create a tremendous impact and a disturbance in this neighborhood. What this ordinance allows us to do is contact that property owner, sit down with that property owner, explain to them, this is our data, this is how many times we've been out to your residence, and this is what's going on. And if that property owner does not address the problem or fix the problem, this allows us this gives us the opportunity to issue a citation to that property owner. I can say we've been through this process before. We've sat down with property owners. We've had a great relationship with a lot of our property owners, and I have yet had an opportunity, or we had yet an opportunity to enact this or issue a citation, because most of the property owners have fixed the issue that we've had so far. So this just gives us a little bit of teeth in the event that a property owner disregards our data that we're bringing before him.
Yes, Mr. Wadsworth.
So you would not give a ticket immediately to the property owner. You'd explain the circumstances
Correct.
and give him an opportunity to correct it.
That is correct.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Ms. Bukowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion is approved.
6A3 for introduction and first reading is of City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 58, Article 2, a new section to prevent distracted driving in the City of Romulus. And this request for approval is also coming from Captain Joshua Monte.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for the introduction of City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 58, Article 2, a new section to prevent distracted drivers in the city.
Been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Choate. And this is for the introduction of City of Romulus Ordinance, Chapter 58, Article 2, a new section on prevent distracted driving in the City of Romulus. I would like to have Mr. Martin come back up again and explain that this distracted driving, so the viewing audience will know.
Let me throw a couple of numbers out at you. Only over 3,000 people are killed in car accidents as a direct proximate cause of distracted driving. At 5 seconds you look down at your phone, traveling 55 miles an hour, you're traveling the length of a football field. In Romulus, locally, 76%, almost 80% of our car crashes are a direct result of distracted driving. What this ordinance allows us to do is enforce somebody who is driving in their car, doing something other than concentrating on the road, committing a traffic infraction. It allows us to stop them. So this is what we call a secondary offense. So if somebody is putting makeup in their car and they're swerving all over the road, we can pull them over and write them for distracted driving. If somebody rear ends a car in front of them and they're doing something other than focusing on the road, we can write them for distracted driving. We're seeing there's a lot of distractions in these vehicles nowadays, from GPS systems to phones to apps to people watching TV on their phones. So,
Texting.
yep, texting.
Just a quick,
Yes,
just a
Mr.
quick
Wadsworth.
comment on what the captain's talking about. I stand on Barth Road daily, watching parents coming back, picking them up and going at 8:30 in the morning and 9 o'clock. And I bet every second car is on their phone as they speed past my house. I think it's an excellent tool,
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Bukowski?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
6A4, this is disposition of excess city-owned property. There are 3 separate resolutions that are needed for the approval. And so I'm going to read, if you look in your packet there, so I'll read each section and ask council to approve accordingly. That's okay? It's quite long, but it's required, so that's why we have to do it this way. So 6A4, and said the Property Disposition Committee respectfully requests City Council's concurrence on the following recommendations. 6A4A, the committee requests that Romulus City Council approve that the following excess city-owned parcels be listed for sale for a period of 6 months with a local realtor or broker selected by the Economic Development Director, Tim Keys. The listing agreement shall provide that the sale is subject to council's approval. And those parcel numbers are as follows: 80-014-03-0174-000, vacant land located on Essex. 80-015-99-0033-000, vacant land located on Vinewood. 80-041-99-000-5701, vacant land located on Smith. 8004201003200, and 8004201003300, vacant land located on Colbert. 8007705051000 and 8007705005300, vacant land located at Goddard and Grover, and the last parcel is 8007728001200, vacant land located on Whitehorn.
So moved. To make a comment also, to correct one of the numbers, there was a missing zero, and that was 80077
Oh, my God.
050051 and that was combined with another vacant land located at Goddard and Grover.
Could we have the clerk repeat all that again?
Correctly.
So I supported that.
Who motioned it?
Okay, the motion is by Makowski, supported by Roscoe, that we approve the request of the committee and the following numbers as read by Ms. Clerk. Okay. Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we're back.
6A4B, the committee requests that the Romulus City Council approve that the excess city-owned parcels listed below be let out for bid to be sold as a single bid package, with the intent that the parcels be grouped together with adjacent parcels to create large-scale development. These parcels are not able to be assembled into a large-scale development parcels except by someone who owns a significant number of adjoining parcels. The individual bids for individual parcels will not be considered. So there are 17 listed here. They all begin with the following 8 numbers: 8004401. And I'd like to just read the last 7 numbers on all 17 parcels, okay? Save some of the zeros here, okay? So I'll start with the first one, 8004401. Then it's 0744303, 0762300, 0812300, 0826000, 0853000, 0898002, 0936000, 1217300, 1260 300, 1269000, 1304000, 1329002, 1336 300, 1354 300, 1397 300, 1757000, and 0004 000.
So moved.
Would you repeat that?
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Choate,
Sorry.
for the reading of clerk. Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth, Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Crop,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
And the last one, 6A4C, and this is the committee request that Romulus City Council approve that the following unbuildable excess city-owned parcels be offered to the adjacent property owners. That's 8013101009930, and that's vacant land located on Edmond. 8013101019330, vacant land located on California, and the last one is 801310129 0261300, and this vacant land is also located on California.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Makowski, supported by Ms. Choate, for the property located, mentioned by our clerk. Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Ms. Choate,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Kraut,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion is approved.
6A5 for second reading and final adoption is Budget Amendment 17/18-10, General Fund. This budget amendment was introduced at the council meeting of October 9th, 2017.
So moved. Sorry.
Been motioned by Ms. Makowski, supported by Mr. Wadsworth, for second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 17/18-10, General Fund. Ms. Makowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Kraut.
Yes.
Choate.
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
6A6, which is the last action item under the clerk's report, and this is introduction of an ordinance to amend Article 7 to add sections 8-238 to 8-249 for registration of rental properties in the city of Romulus. And this request is coming from Director of Public Services, Robert McCrate.
So I've got a process question, if I may, through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I make the motion that we go ahead and issue first reading, but that we need to take into account the feedback given? Like, for example, the ugly compliance certificates posted.
Okay.
So, you know, we've gotten some feedback tonight, very good feedback. So then I'll make the motion that we go for first reading, but with the proviso that Mr. McCrate is going to take the feedback into account.
Okay,
I'll support that.
okay.
Discussion, question.
Okay, first of all, it's motioned by Ms. Makowski and supported by Ms. Choate.
Yes.
Discussion. Mr. Wadsworth first, then Ms. Abdo.
If I could, I will vote for this tonight, but, you know, Bob, could you, you know, possibly, instead of this 2-year, 4-year, 5-year, couldn't everything be done at the same time to be less paperwork for the city and for the homeowner that has the rental property? You know, it's, you know, unfortunately, the good people are going to be punished in this too, it appears, you know. To me, it does.
Well,
And what you're doing is fine. I mean, we got to, you know, get hold of some of these rental homes that nobody pays attention to.
Right. And I hesitate to use the word punished, 'cause that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make all these sites compliant, but even the ones that are compliant with this program and the registration every 5 years and the inspection, we're only looking at $100 a year with the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, $200 a year. That's for the non-compliant sites. The reason we wanted the registration every 5 years because we looked at tracks of sales, because you might have a company that owns 20 homes and they might sell it in 3 years, and we don't have any idea if they don't register it, who owns it. So we need to be able to reach out and make sure that they're registered, and then we could reach out and who they sold it to. So we wanted to register these properties every 5 years.
But
So.
when they put people in rental homes, they usually have to sign up for the water, the electricity. I mean, wouldn't that raise a flag here in the city if someone's...
We started to do that. We started to work with that with the water department, and not all. We found that we were inconsistent. Not all property owners or landlords put the water. That usually was a red flag, because if you rent the property out, usually the landlord doesn't pay for the water. But we found that fewer and fewer. So.
Ms. Abdo.
Yeah, I support most of this, but I would like to see it changed. You have the 2 years, then instead of they get a break to 4 years, I'd like it to go to 5 years to be consistent with the registration period. It simplifies matters. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say Mr. Hawbaker passes everything, then I feel it should go, since he has to re-register in 5 years, can we give him a break to 5 years before he has to do the next C of O?
If they sold the property, they'd have to register it again anyway, so you'd be off that 3 year.
I'm just talking about these long-term ones. I mean, you got 2 years, 4, I think it should be 2 and 5.
Okay.
It's a simple adjustment,
we
and I
can
think it would
adjust
give them a little bit of a break, and it would simplify it. I understand the need for this. I'm just trying to make it easier on,
We can do that.
thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm done.
Ms. Choate?
Oh, one other concern. Now, this 2 and 5, we're talking about one individual home or rental property. How do you put all this together with, when you have multiple rental properties? How are they gonna get by with just $100 fee schedule?
Well, it'd be per home. So if somebody has,
Per property.
if somebody has 20 investment properties or 10 investment properties, in my opinion, they obviously have enough money to register these properties. If you don't, then maybe you should look into a different business. But if it's an income property for them, and we're not looking to make income, we're just looking to pay for our staff, going out and keeping tabs on these, and also making sure they're all compliant so we don't have an issue. We looked at this a few years ago when we had 800 homes that were rentals in the property, or in the city, and then we looked at it again when it was up to 1,500 and it became more attractive in the market. We're also seeing that number start to drop now because a lot of people who bought rental properties realized it was a little bit of work. You know, they aren't like Mr. Hallbreaker, Mr. Pribilla. They realize, well, I just don't collect rent and have these properties. I got to do work. I got to chase down rent. I got to work on these sites. So we're seeing a decline in that. So I'd love to see it go a little bit lower and see more people with ownership in the community. But right now, there's a lot of different entities that own a lot of different homes in the city. You know, we have property owners in Japan. I mean, how do I get that guy in front of Judge Oakley for compliance issues? So now we need to have a responsible party that's local for us.
So, also in this inspection fee, you are inspecting just the home itself, or does that include unkept properties, weeds, overgrown junk in the side yards, backyards?
Mainly the structure, but yeah, we'll definitely look at those issues. And we can also, if the inspector sees those kind of things going on, he can make a note and contact ordinance and have them address the site issue. We've been working close with the ordinance where we take care of the structural issues. Ordinance comes by and takes care of the site issues. So
Thank
I
you.
agree, needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
It's a procedural question, so we can pass this pending changes? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
first reading.
It's just introduced for.
Okay.
Just
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more
When
questions?
we bring it back, we'll bring it with red highlights so we can see the changes.
You got that.
So,
Thanks.
and just so I'm clear, the two things that we're talking about changing are doing the 2 and 5 year and also changing the language with the compliance in a conspicuous location.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have to post. I think they felt that they shouldn't have to post that.
And I don't disagree with you there, but we found it some where some of the landlords or some of the tenants, you know, they needed more information, so we wanted it for them too, but I don't have a problem with that. If that becomes an issue in the future, we can revisit it, so.
Okay.
Ms. Fikowski?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Mr. Crowell?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth? Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you. That concludes the clerk's report. 6B is the treasurer's report.
Good evening. I'm going to make this quick. So, good evening to everyone. I just have a couple items here that I wanted to share with you. The winter tax bills come out December 1st and will be due by February 14th, 2018. You can learn more about your tax bill if you go to the city website, which is www.romulusgov.com. It's important, too, that I share with you that if you look at the back of the tax bill, there's a lot of payment options that people are not familiar with. Bills can be paid at the drop box outside of City Hall, which is located here. Over the counter at the treasurer's office, we'd love to see you. Come on in, pay it at the treasurer's office. You can pay over the phone with a credit card now. So if you have a credit card, you can't make it to the treasurer's office, it's convenient for you, you can call the treasurer's office and make your payment that way. You can pay online through the city website and through automatic withdrawal and more. All major credit cards and debit cards are accepted. So we're definitely customer friendly. We want to make sure that the technology's there and all the options are out there for you. So I think we've pretty much covered that. Also, in case you don't know, partial payments are accepted throughout the tax season. You want to make sure you meet those deadlines, but if you want to come in and pay $100 a week or $100 a month and then make sure that you pay that balance in full by the due date, we're willing to work with you, and that is also an option. Just make sure you get it paid by the due date. And then finally, one more payment option is the kiosk. I've talked about this several times. The closest one to Romulus is on Telegraph Road in Taylor. The reason Romulus does not have one is they are very expensive. I did some calculations here, and if Romulus was to put one in for the first year, this is, I estimated 5,000 payments, you're looking at $40,000 that the taxpayers would have to pay for that kiosk. So as of now, there is one on Telegraph Road in Taylor, and you are more than welcome to use it. But if you have any questions about any of the things that I have shared with you, please call my office. I would be happy to discuss them with you. Thank you.
7 is public comment. Individuals that would like to address City Council under public comment portion of this agenda, you must raise your hand and when recognized by the chair, approach the microphone and state your name and address. Remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes, subject to being extended an additional 3 minutes by consent of the chair. There shall be no personal attacks. Remarks shall not contain any profanity, racial, ethnic, religious, sexual, or national origin slurs or overtones. Anyone making such remarks shall lose his or her right to address the City Council. Further note that a response, if appropriate, will be provided under unfinished business if the information is available at this time. Some items may require further investigation, in which case you will receive a response at a later date. We do have one request, and that is coming from Charles Miller.
Okay.
Good evening. Charles Miller, 11439 St. Aloysius, Romulus, Michigan. I would encourage everyone who are registered to vote to vote. What this does is validates the losses that this country has shared in, that gives us this great opportunity to be heard through our vote. As you know, voting is right around the corner. There will be some changes in faces, some changes in names. Great deal of people are running. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Burkroff mentioned that I, Charles Miller, was running as a write-in candidate. That is true. My desire to serve my community spurred me to run for City Council. Having won the office prompted me to set goals for myself. Sir?
Mr. Miller, as far as when the clerk read, she said no campaigning or attacking anyone.
Sir, are you...
Just going by the rules, Mr. Miller.
Sir, do you want to go down this road?
Which road is that?
The road of illegality, which is the road you're going down. I will go to one portion of it. Therefore, it is my intention, if elected to the office of mayor, to donate $12,500 a year, totaling $50,000 over 4 years, to what I call a memorial scholarship fund, to be given over 4 years of my administration. The details to be worked out with the school administration starting in 2013. Sir, you are trifling with the law. Be aware of it. Not only is the law responsible, but you are personally responsible also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
It is illegal to use city resources for campaigning, and when someone campaigns in the microphone on a meeting of the council, which is going over the television system, then that would be a violation.
Mr. Burkroft did it 4 years ago in the same chair that that gentleman sat right now. But I guess that don't count because it's Mr. Burkroft.
Order, please.
Have a fine day, Mr.
Any other comments from the audience? Yes. Miss Lemon.
Good evening, Jan Lemon. Everyone knows who I am. If you sat in this council chamber, you know who I am. tonight I am proud to be a Romulus resident. These two little young men deserve all the praise in the world. They done a superior job. They didn't act scared. I've seen them on TV a dozen times. They were great. Okay. I've been on my own since I was 14 years old. And my mother was very short time with me, but she taught me many, many things. And the first thing she taught me is when I say, this is my mayor, this is my city, this is my council. She said, honey, when you own something, you take better care of it. And you respect what it stands for. So I just believe at this time, every 4 years, they just come up here. I sit in that chair. Roger, you're in my chair. I sit in that chair week after week, and there isn't a soul here. But let it come campaign time. And they're all here with negative attitudes. The people in Romulus are smart. They want positive thinkers to work together with the council. He thinks there's going to be a whole bunch of new faces. Nobody knows who's going to be sitting in these chairs on the 7th. I just want them to come to this podium and be positive. Don't tell me what you're going to do, because this podium is for you council members to tell me what you're doing. And then if I don't like it, I can come up and tell you about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? If there's no other comments from the audience, comments are closed.
Number 8 is unfinished business. Number 9 is news.
Mr. Barber?
Yes, Mr. Wadsworth.
If I could, to Mayor Burke. Mayor, the folks that live in the southwest corner are wondering what's going on with the bridge in Boston. They're hearing stories 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, because a lot of folks go to Monroe that way, and they're just curious. Could you find out for us?
Well, what I've heard, Wayne County is the one that initiated that. When I talked to the leadership of Huron, they were a little bit disappointed with some of the communication. Apparently they came in, no prior notification. There were some safety issues on bridges all throughout Wayne County that were deemed unsafe and were closed. My understanding, there's some mechanical components that aren't even fabricated yet that can be the solve for that. So I don't know the exact time. I can get the details and get back to you, but it sounded like a long-term plan, and they shut it down for safety without a construction plan. So people are frustrated because they don't see work. There is no work going on right now. It's a real hardship. It's a public safety issue for Huron and mutual aid partners that we've talked about. So I'll try to get some more facts from them and share it with you.
Phone call that this lady said that I don't drive on the expressways. I don't want to go on the expressway. I go south, I go down through Waltz, and I didn't have any answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. I've received phone calls that people are getting calls up from a number, it's a 517 number, 484-1427, and they're asking about questions about the election. All this is not coming from City Hall. It's not coming. This is a fraudulent number. I did some research, Googled back. It's related, and the first thing that popped up was a fraud alert. This phone number. So I would suggest not answer that number. They start out. A lot of times they'll hang up. From what I read, is if a male answers, they hang up. If a female answers, they start asking questions about the election. It is not coming from any of us.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul.
Thanks.
I'd like to add something. You know, I see in the neighborhood a lot, and Ms. Lemon brought up a very important point. People are really tired and sick of the negativity that's brought to the city council at this podium. People to me, talk to me, they want to hear positive things. What can you do? Instead of what we are not doing or whoever in office. And just be positive and be a solution. Be a solution to the problem. Because everywhere I go, it's, boy, some of them turn the TV on and say, I'm gonna get me some popcorn and see who's gonna act crazy at the council meeting. We all human here. We all want the city to move forward. I want the same thing everyone else wants. So let's work together and quit the negativity in the city. Thank you.
Mr. Byrne, can only thing I feel that I want to respond to is this issue that people bring up about give-backs and giving payback. No class with that whatsoever. I know personally there are a lot of elected officials up here that gave money back during difficult times. No one up here talked about it, okay? That's a personal decision somebody makes that a lot of us made. So I think when, people see through that, have some class. There are a lot of people that were in a lot of different positions that gave back so our community can be a great community, and it didn't do it to talk about it in public. So I just want to make that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more unfinished business? Moving on, number 9 is new business. Number 10 is communication. Number 11 for approval is warrant 17-20.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Cho.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay warrant 17-20 in the following amounts. General fund, $114,654.67. Bader Street Fund, $128,012.97. Local Street Fund, $113,165.47. Cable TV, $499.96. Merriman Road Special Assessment, $6,651.92. Street lighting, $44,794.34. Oakwood Sad, $142.48. Garbage and Rubbish Collection Fund, $83,942.75. CDBG, $81,391.82. 911 Service Fund, $10,415.11. Law Enforcement, $385.55. Narcotics Forfeiture, $3,746.69. Library Fund, $10,764.45. DDA, $528.01. Tifa District 2, $2,261,941.23. Vining Road Extension for E-Course Construction, $244,836.25. Water and Sewer Fund, $1,250,697.80. New vehicles, $28,673.98. Technology Services, $1,198.26. Retirees Insurance Benefits, $4,541.41. Revolving Fund, $22,227.23. Current Tax, $221,333.58. Payroll Fund, $109,692.92, for a grand total of all funds, $4,744,238.85.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Chokes, supported by Mr. Kraut, to pay warrant number 17-20 for $4,744,238.85. Ms. Choke?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Warrant number 17-20 will be paid.
Number 12 is adjournment.
Support.
The motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for adjournment. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Makowski?
Yes.
Mr. Kraut?
Yes.
Ms. Choate?
Yes.
Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, we are adjourned.